In 1964, archaeologists dug into a well near ancient Sparta. They expected broken pottery, animal bones. Instead, they found babies, tiny skeletons, crushed infant skulls no bigger than an apple, bones belonging to children who had barely entered the world before ending up at the bottom of a dark shaft. For decades, people thought they knew the story. Weak Spartan babies, unwanted babies, the children Sparta threw away. The story appeared in textbooks, documentaries repeated it. Hollywood turned it into a scene, case closed, or so everyone thought. Then the excavation continued, and suddenly the story stopped making sense, because mixed among those infant remains were adult skeletons, men, women. Now, the question was different, much darker. What kind of society throws both its newborns and its grown citizens into the same hole? To answer that question, forget everything Hollywood taught you about Sparta. Forget the slow-motion warriors. Forget the six-pack abs. Forget the speeches about freedom. The real Sparta was something else entirely. And the most dangerous product ever created was a boy named Leonidas. Before we go any deeper into this story, if hidden horrors of the past fascinate you, subscribe to Grim History, hit the like button. And once you reach the moment that unsettles you most, tell me where you're watching from. Let's begin. Picture this. You're standing in a field in southern Greece. Rows of grain stretch toward the horizon. Men are already working. Women are carrying baskets. Children are helping in the fields. At first glance, it looks peaceful. It isn't, because none of these people own the land beneath their feet. None of them are free. The harvest isn't yours. Neither are the olive trees, nor the animals. They are Helots, a conquered population forced to feed the Spartan state. Spend your entire life growing food for people you hate. Watch another family eat the bread your children harvested. Know that your grandparents were conquered, your parents were conquered, and your children will probably die conquered too. That was Helot life, and there were a lot of them. Far more than the Spartans themselves. Ancient estimates vary, but some historians believe Helots may have outnumbered Spartan citizens 7-1, possibly more. And that's where Sparta's nightmare begins. You're a Spartan citizen, you walk through a marketplace. Most of the people around you are Helots. You look across a field. Helots. You ride between villages. Helots. Everywhere you look, you are surrounded by people who have every reason to hate you. Every reason to kill you. Every reason to rise up. And one day, they did. Then one morning, the fear becomes real. Smoke rises in the distance. A farm is burning. Then another. Then another. Messenian rebels have taken up arms. The people who work the fields are no longer working. They're fighting. Ancient writers describe a conflict so dangerous that Sparta came frighteningly close to collapse. Not because of a foreign empire, not because of an invading king, because of the people working their own land. Sparta survived, but surviving came with a price. Fear. Permanent fear. The kind of fear that changes civilizations, rewrites laws, reshapes childhood itself. After the revolt, Sparta stopped asking how to become prosperous. It stopped asking how to become educated. It stopped asking how to become great. Instead, it became obsessed with one question. How do we stop this from ever happening again? The answer would shape every generation that followed. The answer would shape Leonidas. And it began when a child turned 7 years old. One morning, your childhood ends without warning. Your mother cannot stop it. Your father cannot stop it. Nobody asks what you want. By sunset, you belong to the state. The next meal you eat will be designed to leave you hungry. The next bed you sleep on will not be a bed at all. And the next 13 years of your life will be dedicated to turning you into something Sparta needs more than a son. Sparta no longer sees a child. Sparta sees a weapon. Then winter arrives. The wind cuts through your cloak. The problem is, you don't have another one. Sparta gives you a single cloak for the entire year. When it tears, it stays torn. When it gets soaked by rain, it stays wet. When the cold arrives, you endure it. Or you don't? Sparta doesn't care which. The boys sleep together on beds made from reeds gathered by hand from the riverbanks. No knife, no tools. You rip them from the earth with your fingers, then you lie down and try to sleep. Tomorrow will be worse. And Sparta knows it. In fact, Sparta designed it that way. By midday, your stomach hurts. By evening, it hurts more. A few boys stare at the kitchens, others watch food baskets. Everyone is hungry, not because Sparta is poor, not because food is scarce, because hunger is part of the lesson. The state deliberately gives you less food than you need, just enough to survive. The idea is simple. A hungry boy becomes resourceful. Desperation follows soon after. Eventually, he learns to take what he needs, which is exactly what Sparta wants. Soon, the stealing begins. An unattended loaf of bread, a piece of cheese, a handful of figs, whatever you can get, and if you succeed, nothing happens. You eat, you survive, but if you're caught, the beating begins. That's when the real lesson becomes clear. Stealing isn't the crime. Failure is. Getting caught is unforgivable. The lesson isn't morality. The lesson is competence. Sparta isn't teaching right and wrong, it's teaching effectiveness. And that distinction matters, because one day, many of these boys will be ordered to do far worse than steal food. One story survived for centuries. Whether every detail is true is impossible to know. What matters is that Spartans told it proudly, which tells us everything. Then comes a story every Spartan child knew. There is a boy hiding a fox cub beneath his cloak. Maybe he stole it. Maybe he wanted to prove himself. Then footsteps approach, an older Spartan, someone with authority, someone who might discover what he's done. The fox panics. It starts clawing, biting, tearing. The animal rips into the boy's stomach beneath the cloak. The pain must have been unbearable, blood soaking into the fabric, teeth cutting flesh. Every instinct screaming at him to move, to shout, to throw the animal away. He doesn't. He stands perfectly still, and according to the story, the fox eventually tears him open. The boy dies, silent. Again, maybe it happened, maybe it didn't, but here's the important part. Spartans repeated that story to their children, not as a warning, as an example, as something admirable. And that tells you everything about Sparta. Not a society obsessed with strength. Strength is common, not a society obsessed with intelligence. Intelligence can question orders. Sparta wanted something else. Control. Absolute control. Control over fear. Control over pain. Control over the human instinct to protect yourself. As the boys grew older, the pressure increased. The violence only gets worse. No referee, no rules, no adult stepping in to stop the fight. Someone punches you, you punch back. Another boy joins, then another. Soon everyone is kicking, punching, biting, bleeding. The point isn't to find the strongest fighter. The point is to discover who keeps fighting after common sense says, stop. Who keeps going after the pain arrives. Who keeps going after fear arrives. Who keeps going after everyone else wants to quit. Those are the boys Sparta remembers. Those are the boys Sparta rewards. And then comes the ritual the visitors talked about for centuries. You are standing before a crowd. A temple rises behind you. Priests watch from the side. Foreign travelers have gathered to witness the spectacle. You are not here to celebrate. You are here to bleed. The first strike lands across your back, then another, then another. The crowd looks on. The priests stand witness. Sparta judges. The blows keep coming. Your skin splits. Blood runs down your legs. Every nerve in your body is begging you to scream. But screaming means failure. Crying means failure. Showing weakness means failure. The only acceptable response is silence. Ancient writers claim some boys died during these rituals, not in battle, not defending the city, standing in a sanctuary, while adults measured their ability to endure pain. Let that sink in for a moment. Most societies protected children. Sparta tested them. Most societies prepared children for life. Sparta prepared them for suffering. And year after year, the system continued. Year after year, the pattern repeated. Hunger, cold, violence, pain, until suffering stopped feeling unusual and started feeling normal. By the time Leonidas reached 18, he had spent more than a decade inside a machine designed to strip away hesitation, a system designed to make sacrifice feel normal. Most people would look at that and think the process was complete. It wasn't. The worst part was still ahead, because soon the boys who survived the agoge would leave the training grounds. They would leave the temples, they would leave the barracks, and they would enter the darkness carrying something far more dangerous than a spear, a knife. And somewhere out there, Another human being was waiting without even knowing it. At 18 years old, most societies would call you a man. Sparta is about to decide whether you're useful. You've endured the hunger. The beatings came and went. The winters couldn't break you. You've survived everything Sparta has thrown at you. The moon is rising, and the countryside has fallen silent. You carry no armor, no shield, no companions, only a dagger and a single order. Slip into Helot territory, disappear into the darkness. Wait, watch, then kill. Not enemy soldiers, not invading Persians, not warriors marching against Sparta. Farmers, laborers, men walking home after a day in the fields. The movie's 300s never shows this part. Most documentaries barely mention it, but this was one of the darkest institutions in the Spartan world. The Krypteia, a secret campaign hidden behind the legend. Somewhere in the darkness, the hunt begins. Hours pass. You don't move, you don't speak, you don't make a sound. Then you see him. Maybe he's carrying tools, maybe he's returning home to his family, maybe his children are waiting for him. It doesn't matter. Sparta has already made its decision. The man is strong, too respected, too capable of inspiring others, which means he's dangerous. And dangerous people do not survive, not in Sparta. The dagger leaves its sheath, the distance closes, the night swallows the rest. This wasn't murder in Spartan eyes, it was policy. Every year, Spartan officials formally declared war on the Helots. But that wasn't the strangest part. The Helots were already under Spartan control, already working Spartan land, already feeding Spartan households. Yet every year, Sparta legally declared war on its own labor force. Why? Because Sparta wanted the killing to remain clean, legal, official, sanctioned. The system wasn't reacting to rebellion. The system was preventing rebellion before it could begin. And that's an important difference. Most governments punish resistance. Sparta hunted potential resistance. Picture 2 Helots talking in a field. One is intelligent. One is respected. People listen when he speaks. Others naturally follow him. In most societies, that might make him a community leader. In Sparta, it could make him a target. So Sparta cut the problem out at the root, before it took root, before it spread, before it became a threat. The message was simple: no leaders, no heroes, no hope, only obedience. And Sparta enforced that message with terrifying consistency. One incident recorded by ancient historians reveals just how far the system could go. Then Sparta tried something even colder. Sparta is offering honors. The bravest among you should come forward. The strongest, the most loyal, the most accomplished. For the first time, many Helots thought things were changing. Thousands did. According to the historian Thucydides, around 2,000 Helots stepped forward. They were crowned, celebrated, paraded before temples. For a brief moment, they probably believed their lives were changing. Then they disappeared, every single one of them. Gone, no public trial, no explanation, just absence. 2,000 men, erased from the record. Why? Because Sparta had identified something dangerous. Competence. The very people capable of leading others were the people Sparta feared most. The lesson was unmistakable. Stand out and you become a threat. Become a threat and you disappear. This is the world that produced Leonidas. Even marriage belonged to the system. You're probably imagining celebration, music, food, a crowded gathering. Forget all of that. A Spartan bride has her hair cut short. She is dressed in clothing associated with men. The ceremony ends. Darkness arrives, and the groom leaves. Because even after marriage, Spartan men often continued living in military barracks. You visit your wife after dark, then return to the barracks before dawn. Some men became fathers before they had ever shared an ordinary life with their own families. To modernize, it sounds bizarre. To Sparta, it made perfect sense, because family was never the priority. The state was. Everything served the state. Everything. Spartan women exercised publicly. They ran, they wrestled, they trained. Many outsiders looked at this and assumed Sparta was unusually progressive. The reality was more complicated. Sparta wanted strong mothers. Strong mothers produced strong sons. Strong sons entered the agoge. Strong sons became soldiers. Everything flowed back into the same system, the same obsession. More warriors, more discipline, more control. And when marriages failed to produce children, Sparta sometimes intervened, because reproduction wasn't entirely private. It was strategic. The state needed future soldiers. The state needed future Leonidases. The state needed the next generation, already moving through the pipeline. Every institution pointed toward the same destination. The battlefield, which explains one of the strangest details about Thermopylae, a detail Hollywood almost never mentions. When Leonidas selected his famous 300 warriors, he didn't choose them randomly. He didn't simply choose the strongest men. There was another requirement. Every one of them had a living son. Suddenly, the selection makes perfect sense. 300 invitations, 300 warriors, 300 fathers. And nobody needed to explain why, because everybody understood. The mission ahead was deadly. The men chosen were expected to die, but their bloodlines would survive. Their sons were already growing, already training, already moving through the same machine that had created their fathers. And soon, Leonidas would lead those men toward a narrow pass called Thermopylae, a place where everything Sparta had spent generations creating would finally be put to the test. And while Leonidas was selecting fathers for a mission many of them would never return from, a storm was gathering in the east. Then the thing Sparta feared least finally arrived. Hundreds of them, then hundreds more. The sea itself seems crowded. The Persian Empire is coming, the largest superpower on earth, an empire stretching across continents, an empire that had swallowed kingdoms, crushed rebellions, and conquered nations most Greeks had never even seen. And now it was moving toward Greece. At its head stood a king named Xerxes. Xerxes wasn't marching west for glory alone. Years earlier, Xerxes' father, Darius, had sent an expedition against Greece. The campaign ended at Marathon. The Persians lost. For the Greeks, it became a legendary victory. For Persia, it became unfinished business. Xerxes intended to finish it. This wasn't a raid. This wasn't punishment. This was conquest. And everyone knew it was coming. Across Greece, cities prepared. Weapons were sharpened. Walls were repaired. Messengers rode from city to city carrying warnings. The problem wasn't awareness. The problem was timing. Because, as the Persian army approached, Sparta found itself trapped by something stronger than military logic. Religion. Imagine receiving news that a massive invasion force is marching toward your homeland. Imagine knowing every day matters, every hour matters. Then imagine your laws forbidding a full military response. To modernize, it sounds absurd. To Sparta, it was unthinkable to ignore. The festival of Krypteia was underway. Religious obligations came first. Even now, even with an empire approaching, even with Greece hanging in the balance. And so, Sparta reached for a compromise. Not because 300 men were enough. Not because Leonidas believed 300 men could defeat Persia. Because 300 was the largest force Sparta was willing to send without violating sacred tradition. The famous number wasn't born from confidence, it was born from constraint, and Leonidas knew it. But here's something most people never hear. Leonidas didn't march north with only 300 men. Days later, the march begins. Dust rising beneath thousands of feet. Spartans, Corinthians, Arcadians, Phocians, Thespians, men from cities scattered across Greece, farmers carrying shields, tradesmen carrying spears, citizens leaving their homes knowing some of them would never return. By the time the army reached Thermopylae, roughly 7,000 Greeks stood together. The 300 Spartans were simply the most famous among them. And the place they chose to make their stand wasn't legendary yet, it was simply practical. Thermopylae wasn't chosen because it was famous, it was chosen because it was deadly. In some places, so narrow that only a small number of men could fight at once. Suddenly, the greatest advantage of the Persian Empire becomes useless. Numbers. What good are hundreds of thousands of soldiers if only a few can reach the enemy at a time? This was Leonidas's gamble. Turn Persia's strength into a weakness, force an empire into a bottleneck, make every step forward cost blood. For 2 days, it worked. Then the Persians finally arrive, shield locked against shield, bronze pressing against bronze. The sound is deafening, spears shatter, men scream, bodies fall, then more Persians arrive, and more, wave after wave crashing against the Greek line, and every time they break, even Xerxes' elite troops, the immortals, the warriors who were supposed to be unstoppable, they advance, they fight, and they fail again and again and again. Against all logic, the plan is working. Then one man changes history. Thousands of feet moving toward the Greeks' unprotected rear. Dawn reveals the nightmare. You look toward the mountains, and your blood runs cold. The Persians are behind you. The trap has reversed. Yesterday, Leonidas was the hunter. Today, he is the prey. Word spreads through the camp. Fast, too fast. The pass is lost. The position is compromised. The army faces annihilation. And now, Leonidas must make a decision. One that would echo through history. Thousands of Greek soldiers were waiting for orders. Some are exhausted, some are wounded. All of them understand the situation. Stay and die, leave and survive. Ancient sources disagree on exactly what happened next. Some claim Leonidas ordered most of the Greek army to withdraw. Others suggest many allies simply left once the situation became hopeless. Either way, the result was the same. The larger army began to disappear. Men turned south. Men started home. Men carried news of the invasion back to Greece. But not everyone left. 700 Thespians standing their ground. They had no Spartan citizenship, no legendary reputation, and no Hollywood movies waiting to remember them. Just ordinary men making an extraordinary choice. They knew what was coming. They stayed anyway. And then there were the Spartans, 300 fathers, men whose sons already carried on their bloodline. Men Sparta could afford to lose. Now that detail becomes impossible to ignore, because suddenly the selection criteria makes sense. Fate had nothing to do with it, neither did romance. And there was nothing glorious about the sacrifice. It was planning. Cold, precise, mathematical planning. And on the final morning at Thermopylae, Leonidas made one final move. A move that revealed he understood exactly what was about to happen, because instead of remaining deep within the narrowest section of the pass, he advanced forward toward a wider killing ground, toward open space, toward death. The final battle was about to begin, and this time there would be no escape. The Persians are in front of you, the Persians are behind you, and somewhere in between stands Leonidas. For 2 days, the narrow pass had been your ally. The mountains had shielded your flank, the sea had guarded the other. Now the trap is gone. The enemy is everywhere, and everyone knows what comes next. Death, not eventually, not tomorrow, today, this morning, in a few hours, maybe in a few minutes. Leonidas knows it, the Spartans know it, the Thespians know it. Nobody is pretending anymore. Around the pass, men prepare for something they cannot survive. Some think about their sons. Others think about home. The Thespians think about the road they could still take south. Nobody moves. But didn't. The final battle begins, and it is worse than anything that came before. For 2 days, the Greeks had fought like engineers, measured, disciplined, efficient. Now they fight like men with nothing left to lose. The Persians come forward. The Greeks smash into them. Spears break, shields splinter, bronze bends, bodies pile up. The battle becomes chaos, a grinding mass of screaming men fighting over a few feet of ground. Then the spears are gone, now it's swords, short blades stabbing through gaps in armor, cutting, thrusting, breaking. Then those disappear too, and still the fighting continues. Ancient writers describe men using whatever remained, broken weapons, bare hands, teeth. The Persians keep coming, wave after wave, the pressure never stops. Somewhere in the fighting, 2 of Xerxes' own brothers are killed. That detail matters more than it seems. Members of the royal family are dying on the battlefield. This isn't a symbolic clash anymore. This is becoming expensive. And then Leonidas falls. We don't know his final words. We don't know his final thoughts. History never recorded them. What we do know is what happened next. The battle changed instantly, because now there is a new objective. Leonidas's body. There is king lying among the dead. Dust, blood, broken weapons scattered around him, and suddenly, both sides are fighting for a corpse. The Persians surge forward. The Spartans drive them back, again and again. Ancient accounts claim the Spartans recovered his body multiple times. Each time the Persians returned, each time the struggle became more desperate. To modern eyes it seems strange. Why fight over a dead man? Because to Sparta, losing a king's body was more than a military failure. It was humiliation. And humiliation was unacceptable, especially here, especially now. Eventually, the survivors fall back toward a small hill behind the old wall. This is the end. Everyone knows it. The Thebans begin to surrender. Some throw themselves on Persian mercy. Others are captured. Others disappear into the chaos. But the Spartans remain. While standing on that hill, your shield is gone. Your spear is gone. Maybe your sword is gone too. You are exhausted, covered in dust, covered in sweat, surrounded, and still refusing to move. The Persians don't rush forward. They don't need to. The outcome is already decided. Instead, they stand at a distance. Archers raise their bows. Javelins are prepared. Stones are gathered. Then the missiles begin. Arrows, javelins, stones, again and again. The final defenders are not overwhelmed by a glorious charge. They are slowly erased, methodically, efficiently. One man falls, then another, until there is nobody left standing. Thermopylae is over. But the story isn't, because now imagine Xerxes walking across the battlefield. The bodies are everywhere. Persian bodies, Greek bodies, thousands of them. The king reaches Leonidas, and what he does next surprises even ancient historians. Leonidas' head is cut off. His body is displayed. A warning, an insult, an act of rage. Persian kings normally respected brave enemies. Not this time, not after 3 days, not after the delays. And Xerxes wanted everyone to know it. But here's where the story becomes strange. Because Leonidas dies, the 300 die, the pass falls, Persia wins the battle. 2,500 years later, almost everyone remembers the losers. Why? Because Thermopylae was never really about victory. It was about obedience. And suddenly everything you've seen clicks into place. The hunger, the beatings, the fox story, the Krypteia, the killings in the dark, the marriages, the fathers selected for death. Everything leads here. Everything. Sparta spent decades transforming boys into men who would stand in a place like this and never retreat. Not because they were free, because retreat had been trained out of them, because obedience had been drilled into them before they were old enough to understand it, because Sparta had spent 30 years preparing them for this exact moment. And for a while, the machine worked. Sparta became powerful, feared, admired. The citizen population shrank, families disappeared. Fewer boys entered the system, fewer soldiers emerged. Generation after generation, the numbers fell, until one day the system could no longer sustain itself. Then came the final blow, the Helots, the same people whose labor fed Sparta, the same people whose oppression funded Sparta, the same people whose suffering made the entire system possible, were freed. And once that happened, the machine collapsed, because without the Helots there was no surplus. Without the surplus there was no warrior class. Without the warrior class there was no Sparta. The thing that made Leonidas possible was the same thing that destroyed Sparta. Which leaves us with an uncomfortable question. When people celebrate Sparta, what exactly are they celebrating? The story of Thermopylae is usually told as a story about freedom, but the men at its center were among the least free men in Greece. And 2,500 years later, we're still arguing over whether Thermopylae was humanity at its bravest, or a warning about what happens when a society values obedience more than freedom.